which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Marty, lead us in prayer.
Good evening and welcome. Just for your point of view, exit off to your right in the front and rear for your attention. Before we begin, I'd just like to take a roll call. Trustee Berenger.
Berenger's present.
Trustee Ferraro.
Ferraro present.
Trustee Carl.
Carl present.
Trustee O'Connor.
O'Connor present.
Dwyer present. So thank you. Next order of business, I'd like to address, have two proclamations for Chief Guzman and Police Officer Melissa Burke. I'm going to ask Melissa Burke, Officer Burke, if she come on up. Okay, so here in the village of Monroe, we're very proud of our police department, and as such, when situations happen or we acknowledge the work that goes into being a police officer here in the village of Monroe, we'd like to find a way to very uniquely honor those here in the community as representatives of those in the community. So I'd like to do a proclamation honoring Police Officer Mr. Burke. The recognition of excellence, the Mothers Against Drunk Driving, Stop DWI, and the Governor's Traffic Safety Committee. Whereas the Monroe Police Department holds itself to the highest standards in integrity in conducting its work, and whereas the commitment of its officers is to the safety and well-being of the community it serves, and is well-grounded in its history. And whereas the Monroe Police Department supports programs such as Mothers Against Drunk Driving and Stop DWI. And whereas Police Officer Burke has been honored for her dedicated work in DWI enforcement by Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, Stop DWI, and the Governor's Traffic Safety Committee. And whereas Police Officer Burke has made a coordinated effort to combat the effects of impaired driving to our community, now therefore be it known that we proclaim that the Village Board of Trustees, on behalf of its residents and community, wishes to acknowledge Police Officer Burke for her service to the Village of Monroe and offers our deepest appreciation for her work protecting us and answering the call of duty. The witness, I, Nicholas Dwyer, Mayor of the Village of Monroe, have hereunto set my hand and caused me to fix the seal and signature of the Village of Monroe on the 16th day of July, 2024. So said, Mr. Burke. Jackson. Have a seat right there.
Congratulations.
Yeah, just for now. Can I scoop all, everybody this room? No, you're good. Come on up, Ray. Jackson is a scout here for Troop 440 in Boy Scouts, and he's here tonight for okay. Communications.
Thank you.
I can make a record.
Okay.
So again, I'm in awe with this department. In my opinion, the Monroe Police Department is the finest in the county. And as such, we have an opportunity again to acknowledge our police chief, Darwin Guzman, who attended the FBI National Academy and came back with a lot of good material and made some good network opportunities happen, and it continues to grow for us in the village. So I'm really proud of that, and I know the board is. So I'd like to read this proclamation honoring Chief Guzman. Come on, Chief. So whereas Chief of Police Darwin Guzman was chosen to attend the highly selective FBI National Academy session held at the FBI Academy in Quantico, Virginia, and whereas the 289th session of the FBI National Academy graduated 197 law enforcement professionals consisting of men and women from 47 American states, therefore be proclaimed that the Village of Monroe Board of Trustees, on behalf of our residents and community, wishes to acknowledge Police Chief Darwin Guzman for his service to the Village of Monroe and offers our deepest appreciation for his work, protecting us and answering the call of duty. In witness, I, Nicholas Dwyer, Mayor of the Village of Monroe, hereunto set my hand and cause to be affixed the seal and signature of the Village of Monroe on this 18th day of June, 2024. Of course, that was the first of So, I just want to say, I attended his graduation, my wife and I did. We were honored to be there, we met with the family, and it was really a great weekend. And it was really nice to network and see all these big people down there. So we're really proud of you, Chief, and I want to offer this to you. Thanks. We also have this for you. To Darwin Guzman, Chief of Police, Monroe Police Department, Section 2.
Chief, congratulations.
We good to squeeze each other? Yeah. One, two. Good. You wanna? Yeah, you can have Jackson, one, two, Jackson, Chief, go ahead up there. Jackson's gonna be the next mayor. Yeah. Good, good. No, that's good.
Yeah.
Good, good. Thank you. Yeah, thanks, Chief.
Enjoy.
Keep forgetting to tell you, to use the mic.
Oh, he's bringing it over.
Okay. Next order of business is the monthly reports. I need a motion to accept the monthly reports as submitted by the departments through the clerk.
Carl will make that motion.
Second, please.
Berenger will second.
Any discussion? Call the question.
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, I.
Carl, aye.
O'Connor, aye.
Dwyer, aye, so carried. Next order of business is the budgetary transfers.
Village,
Minutes.
approval of the minutes.
I'm sorry. Wait a minute.
3.
Do you want to use my sheet?
No, I got it. That wasn't on here, so I'm looking at that. I'm trying to train myself into the 21st century while I'm going back to the 18th century. Okay, very good. So I need a motion to accept the minutes for the meeting of June 18th, 2024 Board Trustees.
Carl will make the motion.
Ferraro, second.
Call the question?
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, I.
Carl, aye.
O'Connor, aye.
Dwyer, aye, so carried, thank you. Okay. Why does this have, am I in the wrong month? No. Yes, I am. Hello. Ended its 21st century.
Back to the stone.
I know, I need to use this.
Back to the hard
Somebody else
copy.
to help me.
Budget transfers, there you are.
That looks like it.
Yeah, it is. Okay, next order of business, budgetary transfers, trustee O'Connor.
Okay. Be it resolved, the Board of Trustees authorizes the treasurer to make the following fund transfers / modifications to balance the budget. From A2709, employee contributions, to A9060.8 thousand, for $216.85. The next one, A0230.3 thousand, VH renovations reserve, to A1620.4810, for Village Hall renovations, for $4,000. The next one, from A.3389, other public safety, to A.3120.4120 for PD uniforms for $473. And the last, A.2705, that was for gifts and donations, to A.3120.410 for PD general expense for $1,119.75. And I put that in the form of a motion.
Second, please.
Carl,
Berenger.
second.
Any discussion? Call the question?
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, I.
Carl, aye.
O'Connor, aye.
So carried, thank you. Next order of business is the resignation
Yes.
of seasonal laborer, Jose
Barajas.
Dominguez. Resolved, the Board of Trustees accepts the resignation of Jose Barajas Dominguez from seasonal labor effective July 8, 2024. The board wishes Jose well in his future endeavors. I need a motion to accept this.
Berenger will make the motion.
Ferraro, second.
Call the question?
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, I.
Carl, aye.
O'Connor, aye.
Dwyer, aye, so carried. Next order of business, the appointment of part-time court attendant. Trustee O'Connor?
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just introduce Grace Thomas, the candidate.
Hi, Grace.
Hi.
Welcome.
Welcome aboard.
Be it resolved, the Board of Trustees accepts the recommendations of Village Justice Strauss and appoints Grace Ponce as part-time court attendant. Ms. Ponce has been pre-approved by the Orange County Department of Human Resources with an effective date of July 17, 2024, at an hourly rate of $22 to be allotted from budget line A.1620.4500, court security. I put that in the form of a motion.
Carl will second.
Just curious, is it court security or is it court?
Yeah, court attendant is correct here. It's changed here.
The budget line is usually, or the court is usually A1110 budget line, isn't it?
Okay.
It usually comes from the court security budget line. I don't know which specific A1110 line it is. There is a court security budget line in the court budget.
Well, I know it's court security. Is that where your court offices are?
Court officer, the title, county title of the position is court attendant, but they are the court officers.
Yeah, but I mean, Grace will be,
On that same line.
oh, is that right? Okay, so no clarification? Okay, so,
It was
you get a
seconded.
first, we get a second? Call the question?
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, I.
Carl, aye.
O'Connor, aye.
Dwyer, aye, so carried. Trustee O'Connor, purchase of existing Kodak.
Welcome.
Welcome aboard.
Yes,
Yeah.
welcome.
Welcome aboard, Grace, thank you for being here.
Be it resolved, the Board of Trustees authorizes the purchase of an existing Kodak Alaris S3100F scanner for the purposes of digitizing and storing of documents through DocuWare in the amount of $1,500 to be allocated from budget line A.1620.2200, Village Hall office equipment. Be it further resolved, the Board of Trustees authorizes the purchase of a maintenance contract for the Kodak Alaris scanner for 3 years with on-site net business day in the amount of $2,437 to be allocated from the budget line A.1620.4530, Village Hall equipment and maintenance. And I put that in the form of a motion.
Can I get a second, please?
Berenger will second.
Call the question?
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, I.
Carl, aye.
O'Connor, aye.
Dwyer, aye, so carried, thank you. Next order of business is the Orange County Stop DWI Traffic Safety Program. Trustee Brancher?
Be it resolved, the Board of Trustees approves an agreement with the County of Orange that authorizes the Village of Monroe Police Department to participate in the Stop DWI Traffic Safety Program for an enforcement period of July 1st, 2024 through September 4th, 2024, which includes the Independence Day and Labor Day holiday weekend in an amount not to exceed $5,219. And I'd like to put this in the form of a motion.
Can I get a second, please?
Ferraro, second.
Call the question?
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, I.
Carl, aye.
O'Connor, aye.
Dwyer, aye, so carried, thank you. Next order of business, the payment authorization number 4 for the 4th Street Water Main Replacement Project. Trustee Carl.
Yep. Resolve the Board of Trustees accepts the recommendation of Village Engineer John O'Rourke, P.E., and approves payment number 4, the final payment submitted by Regal Utility Services Incorporated, 731 Warwick Turnpike, Hewitt, New Jersey, 07421, for the 4th Street Water Main Replacement Project in the amount of $27,838.43. All documentation has been reviewed and found complete. Mayor Dwyer is hereby authorized to sign the voucher for payment, and I will put that in the form of a motion.
Thank you. Second, please.
Berenger will second.
Discussion? Call the question.
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, I.
Carl, I.
O'Connor, aye.
Dwyer, aye, so carried. Next order of business is payment number 4, final for the Calvin Terrace Water Main Project. Trustee Carl.
Yep. Resolve the Board of Trustees accepts the recommendation of Village Engineer John O'Rourke, P.E., and approves payment number 4, final payment submitted by TAM Enterprises Incorporated, 114 Hartley Road, Goshen, New York, 10924, for the Calvin Terrace Water Main Replacement Project in the amount of $58,916.51. All documentation has been reviewed and found complete. Mayor Dwyer is hereby authorized to sign the voucher for payment, and I will put that in the form of a motion.
Thank you. Second, please.
O'Connor will second.
Call the question.
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, I.
Carl, I.
O'Connor, aye.
Dwyer, aye, so carried. Next order of business, the Hudson Valley Water Works Conference, Water Department for Mr. Beatty, Mr. Ostrowski, and Mr. Skulo. Trustee Carl.
Yep. Resolved, the Board of Trustees approves the attendance of Ernie Mabey, Will Ostrotsky, and Matt Pasculo to the Hudson Valley Waterworks Conference held August 8th, 2024, from 8:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Town of Walk Hill Golf Club, 40 Sands Road, Middletown, New York, at $50 per water operator, totaling $150 to be allocated from budget line F 8330.472, purification education, water certificates, and 4 Department of Health contact hours are awarded upon completion, and I'll put that into a form of a motion.
Second, please.
O'Connor will second.
Call the question.
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, I.
Carl, I.
O'Connor, aye.
Dwyer, aye, so carried. Thank you. Next order of business is the Police Department inventory request to remove. Trustee Berenger.
Be it resolved, the Board of Trustees declares the following Police Department non-working equipment surplus and of no value and authorize its removal from inventory. 2005 Fuji number 7005, 19-inch black, serial number 1F2B00554. The bicycle is approximately 20 years old, and due to the poor mechanical condition, this bicycle will be donated to the Town of Chester Police Department upon board approval. I'd like to put this in the form of a motion.
Second, please.
O'Connor will second.
Discussion. Call the question.
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, I.
Carl, I.
O'Connor, aye.
Dwyer, aye, so carried. Thank you. Okay.
All right, here we go.
Next order of business, the resolution to acquire real property, 128 Carpenter Place, Village of Monroe, Board of Trustees, resolution to acquire real property. Carpenter Place, SBL 212-6-7 and 7.12 and .7.
713.
Whereas the village board is authorized under village law 1-102 to acquire real property on behalf of the Village of Monroe residents. And whereas the property in the CB district is available for purchase and the village desires to acquire such land for the purposes of providing future municipal facilities for the benefit of the Village of Monroe residents. And whereas the said property has approximately .35 acres and 1 existing home, and whereas the Village Board of Trustees has spent several months negotiating with the seller of property to arrive at a purchase price, and whereas the Village Board of Trustees has consulted with local real estate brokerage houses, evaluated past market trends, obtained an appraisal, and determines that the purchase price is a reasonable purchase price in light of the current market. And whereas the Village Board hereby declares itself to be lead agency pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, known as SECRA, whereas after completing the thresholds found in 6 NRCRR Part 617.4 and 5, the Village Board hereby declares that this is an unlisted action for the purposes of SECRA. Whereas the village prepared a short environmental assessment form in connection with this matter. Now therefore be it resolved that having reviewed the environmental assessment form, the proposed acquisition will not result in any adverse environmental impacts, as the acquisition of the property will not result in any construction or change to the site. Any future changes and/or use of the future site-specific construction, if any, shall be subject to further seeker review. And be it further resolved that the Village Board of Trustees finds that the acquisition of the property is in the best interest of the Village of Monroe, and hereby authorizes the mayor to negotiate and complete the purchase of 128 Carpenter Avenue in the amount of $775,000. I need a motion to adopt this resolution.
Berenger will make the motion.
Second?
Carl will second. Just discussion real quick.
Sure.
This includes the lot next door to that.
Yeah.
Right, that's the 128 plus the lot next
That's
door.
right, and I think actually that probably should be added to the resolution. I'm gonna tell you where. So if you go down to the third whereas, it says whereas said property
Yep.
has approximately .35 acres and one existing home.
Yep.
Okay, I'm not sure if the .35 is the home site or is it the vacant lot. So, I would just noting it, has approximately .35 acres, vacant lot, and one existing home. Because it's two lots.
Yeah, I mean, it states that there's two lots, but I think clarification is appropriate here.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Good,
That's all I got.
okay, so we had a first and second, further discussion? Call the question?
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, I.
Carl, aye.
O'Connor, aye.
Dwyer, aye, so carried, thank you. Next order of business, the bond acceptance for land acquisition at 128 Carpenter Place. The bond resolution of the Village of Monroe, New York, adopted on July 16, 2024, authorized the issuance of bonds in a principal amount not to exceed $736,250 to finance a part of the cost of the acquisition of land located at 128 Carpenter Place in the village, including the existing structure thereon, for use as a future village hall or other municipal office use, stating that the estimated maximum cost thereof is $775,000, and appropriating said amount for such purpose, including the expenditure of $38,750 from other available village funds to pay for the balance of said cost. The Board of Trustees of the Village of Monroe and the County of Orange, New York, hereby resolves by the favorable vote of not less than 2/3 of all the members of the said Board of Trustees as follows. Section 1, the Village of Monroe and the County of Orange, New York, herein called the village, is hereby authorized to issue bonds in a principal amount not to exceed $736,250, pursuant to the local finance law constituting Chapter 33-A of the Consolidated Laws of the State of New York, herein called the law, to finance a part of the cost of the acquisition of land located at 128 Carpenter Place in the village, including the existing structure thereon, for use as a future village hall or other municipal use. Section 2, the estimated maximum cost of the project described there herein, including preliminary costs and costs incidental thereto and financing thereof, is $775,000, and said amount is hereby appropriated for such purpose. The plan of the financing includes the issuance of bonds in a principal amount not to exceed $736,250 to finance a part of said appropriation, the expenditure of $38,000 from other available village funds to pay for the balance of said appropriation, and the levy and collection of taxes on all the taxable real property in the village to pay for the principal of said bonds and the interest thereon, as the same shall become due and payable. Section 3, the following additional matters are hereby determined and declared. A, the period of probable usefulness applicable to the object or purpose of which said bonds are authorized to be issued within the limitations of Section 11.00A.21 of the law is 30 years. However, the bond issue authorized pursuant to this resolution and any bond anticipation note issued in anticipation of the sale of said bonds shall mature no later than 5 years after the date of original issuance of said bonds or notes. B, the proceeds of the bonds herein authorized and any bond anticipation note issued in anticipation of said bonds may be applied to reimburse the village for expenditures made after the effective date of this resolution for the purpose of which said bonds are authorized. The foregoing statement of intent with respect to reimbursement is made in conformity with Treasury Regulations, Section 1.150-2 of the United States Treasury Department. C, the proposed maturity of the bonds authorized by this resolution will not exceed 5 years. Section 4, each of the bonds authorized for this resolution and any bond anticipation note issued in anticipation of the sale of said bonds shall contain the recital of validity as described by Section 52.00 of the law, and said bonds and any notes issued in anticipation of said bonds shall be general obligations of the village, payable as to both the principal and interest by general tax upon all the taxable real property within the village. The faith and credit of the village are hereby irrevocably
Irrevocable.
irrevocably,
Irrevocably.
that was a tongue twister, pledged to the punctual payment of the principal and interest on said bonds, and any note issued in anticipation of the sale of the bonds, and provision shall be made annually in the budget of the village by appropriation for an amortization and redemption of the said bonds and any notes in anticipation thereof to mature in such year, and B, the payment of interest to be due and payable in each year, or such year. Section 5, subject of the provisions of this resolution and the law pursuant to the provisions of Section 21.00 of the law relative to the authorization of the issuance of bonds with substantially level or declining annual debt service. Section 30.00 relative to the authorization of the issuance of bond anticipation notes. Section 50.00 and Sections 56.00, 260.00, and 168 of the law, the powers and duties of the Board of Trustees relative to authorizing bond anticipation notes and prescribing the terms, form, and consent or contents, and as to the sale and issuance of bonds herein authorized, and of any bond anticipation note issued in anticipation of said bonds, and the renewals of said bond anticipation notes, as to the execution of agreements for a credit enhancement are hereby delegated to the village treasurer, the chief fiscal officer of the village. 6, the validity of the bonds authorized for this resolution and of any notes issued in anticipation of the sale of said bonds may be contested only if such obligations are authorized for an object or purpose for which the village is not authorized to expend money. And B, the provision of the law which should be complied with at the date of the publication of such resolution or a summary thereof are not substantially complied with, and an action, suit, or proceeding contesting such validity is commenced within 20 days after the date of such publication, and C, such obligations are authorized in violation of the provisions of the Constitution. Section 7, this bond shall take effect immediately, and the village clerk is hereby authorized and directed to publish the foregoing resolution in summary, together with a notice attached in substantially the form prescribed by Section 81.00 of the law in the official newspaper of the village. I need a motion to adopt this resolution as prescribed.
Berenger will make the motion.
Ferraro, second.
Discussion? Call the question?
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, I.
Carl, I.
O'Connor, aye.
Dwyer, aye, so carried. Thank you. And just for the public and anyone else watching the meeting tonight, the purposes of this business is to be able to, with authorization, create the opportunity to bond the properties that we acquire. It doesn't mean we need to, but you need to do this in advance of that. Yes?
Correct.
So, I just want the board to be comfortable with that, and the public to know as well that this is the business that needs to be done before any property is purchased. Okay, so we have that done, thank you. Next order of business is the resolution to acquire real property of 8 Riley Road, Village of Monroe, Village Board of Trustees, resolution to acquire real property, 8 Riley Road. Whereas the village board is authorized in the village law, section 1-102, to acquire real property on behalf of the Village of Monroe residents, and whereas the property adjoining Monbassia Lake, the village's water source available for purchase, and the village desires to acquire such land for the purpose of protecting the village's watershed for the benefit of Village residents, Village of Monroe residents, and whereas said property has a total of approximately 19,220 square feet with one existing home, and whereas the Village Board of Trustees has negotiated with the seller of the property to arrive at a purchase price, and whereas the Village Board hereby declares itself to be a lead agent pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, and whereas after comparing the thresholds found in 6 NYCRR Part 617.4 and 5, the Village Board hereby declares that this is an unlisted action for purposes of secret. And whereas the village prepared a short environmental assessment form in connection with this matter, now therefore be resolved that having reviewed the environmental assessment form, the proposed acquisition will not result in any adverse environmental impacts, as the acquisition of the property will not result in any construction or change to the site. Rather, the site will serve as a buffer between the existing parkland and surrounding development. And be it further resolved that the Village Board of Trustees finds that the acquisition of the property is in the best interest of the Village of Monroe, and hereby authorizes the mayor to negotiate and execute a contract of sale between Lawrence M. O'Neill for the purposes of 8 Riley Road in the amount of $600,000. Said authorization is specifically subject to an appraisal fall at or above the stated purchase price. I need a motion to accept this resolution of purchase.
Carl will make that motion.
O'Connor will second.
Discussion, call the question.
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, I.
Carl, I.
O'Connor, aye.
Dwyer, aye, so carried. Next order of business, again, the bond resolution acceptance for land acquisition of 8 Riley Road. Bond resolution of the Village of Monroe, New York, adopted July 16, 2024, authorizing the issuance of bonds in a principal amount not to exceed $570,000 to finance a part of the cost of the acquisition of land located at 8 Riley Road in the village, including the existing structure thereon, for use as a watershed protection site, stating the estimated maximum cost thereof is $600,000, and appropriating said amount for such purpose, including the expenditure of $30,000 from other available village funds to pay the balance of said cost. The Board of Trustees of the Village of Monroe in the County of Orange, New York, hereby resolves by favorable vote of not less than 2/3 of all members of the said Board of Trustees as follows. Section 1, the Village of Monroe in the County of Orange, New York, hereby called the village, is hereby authorized to issue its bonds in the amount not to exceed $570,000 pursuant to the local finance law constituting Chapter 33-A of the Consolidated Laws of the State of New York, herein called a law, to finance a part of the cost of the acquisition of land located at 8 Riley Road in the village, including the existing structure thereon, for use as a watershed protection site. Section 2, the estimated maximum cost of the project therein described herein, including preliminary costs and costs incidental thereto and the financing thereof, is $600,000, and the amount is hereby appropriated for such purpose. The plan of financing includes the issuance of bonds in the principal amount not to exceed $570,000 to finance a part of said appropriation, the expenditure of $30,000 from other available village funds to pay the balance of said appropriation, and the levy and the collection of taxes on all the taxable real property in the village to pay the principal of said bonds and the interest thereon, as the same shall become due and payable. Section 3, the following additional matters are hereby determined and declared: A, the period of probable usefulness applicable to the object or purpose of which said bonds are authorized to be issued within the limitations of Section 11.00, 8.21 of the law is 30 years. However, the bonds authorized pursuant to this resolution and any bond anticipation note issued in anticipation of the said sale of said bonds shall mature no later than 5 years after the date of the original issuance of said bonds or notes. B, the proceeds of the bonds herein authorized and any bond anticipation note issued in anticipation of said bonds may be applied to reimburse the village for expenditures made after the effective date of this resolution for the purpose of which said bonds are authorized. The foregoing statement of intent with respect to reimbursement is made in conformity with Treasury Regulation Section 1.150-2 of the United States Treasury Department. The proposed maturity of the bonds authorized for this resolution will not exceed 5 years. Section 4, each of the bonds authorized by this resolution, and any bond anticipation note issued in anticipation of the sale of said bonds shall contain the recital of validity as described by Section 52.00 of the law, and said bonds and any notes issued in anticipation of said bonds shall be in general obligations of the village, payable as to both principal and interest by general tax upon all the taxable real property within the village. The faith and credit of the village are hereby irrevocably pledged to the punctual payment of the principal of and said interest on said bonds and any notes issued in anticipation of the sale of said bonds, and provision shall be made annually in the budget of the village by appropriation for a amortization and redemption of the bonds and any notes in anticipation thereof to mature in such year, and the payment of interest to be due and payable in such year. Section 5, subject to the provisions of this resolution of the law, pursuant to the provisions of Section 21.00 of the law relative to the authorization of the issuance of bonds with substantially level or declining annual debt service, Section 30.00 relative to the authorization of the issuance of bond anticipation notes, and Section 50.00 and Sections 56.00 to 60.00 and 168.00 of the law, the powers and duties of the Board of Trustees relative to authorizing bond anticipation notes and prescribing the terms, forms, and contents as to the sale and issuance of the bonds herein authorized, and of any bond anticipation note issued in anticipation of said bonds and the renewals of said bond anticipation notes as to the execution of agreement for credit enhancements are hereby delegated to the village treasurer, who is the chief fiscal officer of the village. Section 6, the validity of the bonds authorized by this resolution and any notes issued in anticipation of the sale of said bonds may be contested only if such obligations are authorized for an object or purpose for which the village is not authorized to expend money, and provisions of law which should be complied with at the date of the publication for such resolution, or a summary thereof, are not substantially complied with. And an action, suit, or proceeding contesting such validity is commenced within 20 days after the date of the first publication, or such obligations are authorized in violation of the provisions of the Constitution. Section 7, this bond resolution shall take effect immediately, and the village clerk is hereby authorized and directed to publish the foregoing resolution in summary, together with a notice attached in substantially the form prescribed by Section 81 of the law in the village newspaper, the newspaper of the village. I need a motion to adopt this resolution as described.
Carl will make that motion.
O'Connor will second.
Discussion? Call the question?
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, I.
Carl, aye.
O'Connor, aye.
Dwyer, aye. And again, just for the public's information, these are tasks and duties that were required that need to be published, and we first have to adopt them as a board. Once that's done, then we can move into the contract phase and the acquisition. Okay, I don't have anything, Mr. Berger?
No, not at the moment.
I don't have anything.
Carl?
Yeah, I got a few things.
Yep.
We'll start with the fireworks on July 3rd. I thought they went over very well this year.
That's great.
We did, we did take in vendor fees, a total of $1,400 for the vendors that were there. I think they all did very well. I want to thank our village clerk, Kim Zahar. She was helping me a lot, so, but all in all, I think it went well. The only couple of issues I heard were not enough garbage pails and more porta potties. Other than
Oh, really?
that,
Wow.
yeah, I did get a few complaints.
But we're lucky
on
that we have our guys that clean up so quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and everything was cleaned up the next morning, and, you know, you probably had 15,000+ people there, so
Oh, yeah.
it was a big crowd.
Biggest I've ever seen, I think.
Yeah, I think it was one of our bigger ones. And again, hopefully next year we'll move forth with the same Garden State fireworks. They did an excellent job.
Great job.
And
Great finale.
I'm working on another, hopefully another sponsor to help us with the fireworks. Give us
Oh, cool.
a little bit more money so we can get a little bit
Show.
more pop for our
Yeah.
money, you know. Bulk items on the garbage district. Again, for almost 3 weeks, there were shower doors that laid on the side of 7 Freeland Street. They finally got picked up the other day, but again, it's an ongoing problem, because you drive around, you see it. I'm tired of calling people. We don't administer this garbage district, but there's issues. Regarding the senior discount, contrary to what the town put out there as misinformation, I don't know if they were referring to what I put out there or not, but I spoke directly with Morangi. The office contact was Jackie, and quite a few people did call in to get the, looking for that $12 a year senior break. Unfortunately, this has been on the contract since 2018, and nobody knew about it. So shame on the administrators who are running this garbage contract. Street lights, where are we with that? With the
We're waiting for O&R.
on the upgrades too for the LEDs?
We're waiting for O&R. O&R's got to sign that contract.
Okay.
And we've been on Jack, on Teresa, as of just recently, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Sidewalks being impassable, whether by brush, hedges, low limbs, toys, bikes, scooters, garbage pails, inflatable swimming pools. If property owners have to keep the sidewalks free and clear during the winter months when it snows, they should keep it clear during the summer months. Just drive around the village. It's just sidewalks are plugged full of. That's why everybody's in the streets. I don't know what we need to do to correct that, but it's getting worse.
One of the things I find also on the sidewalks when you're trying to walk when you're talking about like the brush, people aren't trimming their trees and their branches, and that's kind of.
There were a few that I gave to the DPW, and I see that stuff is getting cleaned up, not by us, but by the property owners, because they're responsible.
Right.
But, I mean, the toys that are being left out, not only on the sidewalks, but in the streets, and it's bad habits on homeowners' part, and they really need to, you know, make things so that they're passable for all of us. And then we had a discussion today regarding Natoli with the
Yeah.
water rates, so we're working on that. Just an FYI, in case you, I don't know if I put it out to the board, but the valve repair job that was supposed to get done on Freeland and 17M did in fact need a state DOT permit. So Ernie maybe is working with Lankin Tully to get that resolved and get the permit in hand, and then once that happens, then we'll have another date to get that job done.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
One thing I wanted to add, because I know I went first and I didn't, I do want to say I think our board does a really great job working together well. The fireworks, I had run into a friend of mine who usually is in Florida during the fireworks, and he couldn't believe how amazing everything was. He's always complimenting us on all the events that we have, and I do think our board works really hard, and I know also we have Peter Dawson helping with the concerts and the farmers markets, and it's nice to hear from people in the community all the great things that are going on. And you know, I think sometimes people don't realize how much work goes into our events, and we're very lucky to have such a great village and so many great activities that other people don't have where they live.
Agreed, absolutely agreed.
You know, one of the things, I didn't get a chance to see it, but Chester had their fireworks the other day, and they started with a drone show. I don't know what the cost of something like that is. Yeah, but it was like a 10-minute drone show, and then they went into the
I
fireworks.
think they spelled out Chester or something in
Yeah.
lights or something. I saw pictures.
So it's, again,
Could ask?
well, I'm working on additional sponsor next year to help us, and it might be something I'll reach out to.
And the same with our
somebody to
concerts.
check.
I mean, when you think about all the money that's spent, we don't have sponsors. Am I correct?
So
Right,
Village
so-
of Monroe taxpayer
Right.
does the concerts. We do get donations from the town of Monroe and the Village of Harriman for the fireworks. But yeah, you know, the village taxpayer puts a lot into the community
Right.
with these concerts that we want everybody to come out and enjoy,
Right.
whether you live in the Village of Monroe or the town of Monroe, and patronize the local establishments here in Monroe, in the village. That's what it's all about.
Anything about it? Anything about it? Trustee O'Connor,
I'm good.
council?
Nope.
Okay, anybody from the public wish to speak? Okay, having said that, I need a motion.
A nice one. They did a good job of cleaning up when they put the pipe in off of East Foundation Street. They did a pretty good job of cleaning that back up. It's kind of back in, so.
Thank
You
you.
know, kind of emergency thing and
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
get it done, but, you know, it wasn't too bad.
You can almost walk out in, I was out walking out there the other day.
Full of ticks.
Yeah, well, yeah, and horse flies.
Yeah.
But I was out in there, and that's dried up quite a bit.
But they were pretty good about not really blocking the road, even the big trucks are coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, as far as walking out there, Trustee Carl, his point was, we had such a massive leak out there,
Yeah.
that now you could literally walk out there, you know, fireflies and everything else aside, it's walkable, believe it or not. Never has been since I've been mayor.
Used to hear the negative from us, there.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
And the reservoir is only down 7 inches.
Yeah.
And
It's remarkable. Last year at this time, I think it was 22 inches down.
Yeah.
So. Okay, so we need to go in executive for attorney-client, and he's here for his badge. Oh, okay. Jackson, did you want to address this at all, or are you good?
I mean, for the drone shows, they cost $3,000. I know 6-year-olds flying up into the
Yeah.
and how high they go, but I think it's like a few $1,000 for a chicken show.
Should I put you in charge of that to find the vendor for that?
For your next badge?
We'll find a badge for
For your
that.
next badge?
Did you go to the Chester one? Were you up there at all, or?
No, my friend lives in Chester though, he showed me the entire video.
Yeah.
Pretty cool?
Oh,
Yeah, it's really cool, I don't know how they do it.
Yeah.
all computer controlled.
I've
All
seen it
computer
done,
controlled.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen it done down in Disney and Universal does it at night. Pretty cool. It's all synchronized. Cool. Well, thank you for coming. I appreciate it, and I hope you're earning your what
Badge.
badge is it?
Communications.
Communications. Did we communicate well tonight?
Yes.
We did. You're a good young man. Jackson lives up in Briarcliff, and his dad has been one of the leaders of Troop 440 for many years. And Jackson, at some point, is going to become politically involved.
Uh-huh.
He's going to work on this board, maybe. Who knows? Right? Maybe. Yeah. We'll see. All right. Well, thanks, Jackson, for being here. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Okay, so I need a motion to go in executive.
Berenger make the motion.
Carl, second.
Call the question.
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, I.
Carly.
O'Connor, aye.
Dwyer, aye, so carried. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. I was gonna say, watch the ice outside, but it's a little early.